Digression between the first and second chapters.
I never saw the glory in uniforms, in drills, in obedience. All I saw was erasure, of freedom, of voice, of everything I ever wanted to be. The idea of being told where to go, what to do, who to hate. It made my skin crawl since I was a kid. That's why I ran. That's why I keep running. In both of the countries I've lived in, military service is mandatory by law. Refusal, without a government-approved excuse, is a criminal offense, and I did everything I could to avoid it. I dug through every inch of my medical history. I got real diagnoses, documented every condition. In peacetime, that was enough to stay out. But once war begins, all of that means nothing. Even with my medical exemptions, I would still be declared fit. In any sane country, conscription is voluntary, a choice. In mine, it was a sentence. Some people hate the idea of serving so much. They end up doing things they can't take back, simply because in these countries you can really only choose prison or the army if there are no legal reasons. And I get it. I really do. I didn't just fear war. I fucking hated the idea of being forced, for free, to carry out someone else's psychotic orders. To be dragged away from my life, unpaid, into some field full of screaming strangers with guns, obeying a chain of command I never believed in. And worst of all, I knew who I'd be stuck with. The same brain-dead assholes who used to call me a freak in school, now wearing uniforms, barking orders, playing power games. I'd be living 24/7 in the same cage as the people I spent my whole life trying to escape. Let's be real. The sons of politicians aren't getting conscripted. They're out there crashing luxury cars and partying on yachts in Monaco, not crawling through trenches or dying for a flag they only salute on TV. It's always the poor, the unwanted, the nobodies who get sent to die. And I knew exactly which side of that system I was on.
From call center hell to mortgage hop.
After everything I lived through, one thing became clear. I couldn't stay in that country anymore. There was another country next door. My mother had lived there for years, working non-stop. I'd been to its capital once before. I'd seen what I'd been dreaming about all my life. Freedom of expression, real parties, the chance to earn money, travel, and actually live on my own terms. Every time I found myself in the capital, even just passing through, something would pull at me. I'd see DJs playing sunset sets in parks or bars, and something inside me lit up. I used to think, damn, imagine being able to do that. But with everything else going on in my life, it felt like a distant dream. Too late, too complicated. Maybe not for people like me, but that seed was planted. We'll come back to that on the donation page. After I fled, I went through hell all over again, just in a new country. I fought tooth and nail to get legal status in this new country. The asylum process was a bureaucratic nightmare. I must have visited the immigration office 100 times. Every time they found some new bullshit in my paperwork. Not because I messed up, but because the system was never designed to help people like me succeed. Hospitals bounced me around like a ping-pong ball. No one wanted to take responsibility. I had to escalate complaints all the way up to the Ministry of Health just to get basic medical forms processed. During all of this, I had no right to work. I survived only because my grandmother was renting out her apartment and sending me every cent she could. I lived off that, and my will not to fucking disappear. I didn't have much, but with help from my mother, I managed to buy my first apartment. Not in the capital, but in a mid-sized city that felt like a stepping stone. I never went to university. I didn't need to. I never saw the point of that bullshit. Still, I got my first job, a dead-end call center gig for a mobile provider. KPI hell. Constant micromanagement. Zero dignity. That call center was hell. My manager, I called her the Dragon, ran it like a boot camp. We had to study procedures in our own time, take tests off the clock, and show up 15 minutes early every day. Unpaid, of course. Once I stayed 2 minutes too long on my lunch break, and she made me pay it back the next day. Later, I moved to second-line support. Better role, more chill. We even ordered sushi at work sometimes, but it was still a cage, just with comfier walls. Right before I quit, the office started collapsing. People left in waves, tasks piled up. Pay stayed the same. Complaints from clients got logged and punished. Praise, ignored. It was a corporate meat grinder, and I knew if I stayed, I'd rot. But I knew it was temporary. I just needed a bank to see stable employment. I needed that mortgage approval. And when it finally came, I quit, sold my first apartment, and used that money as the down payment for a new one in the city I'd always dreamed of living in. That was it, my new beginning.
The next goal is achieved. Real life begins.
My new job, pre-war, was a different world.
I was finally working in my actual field, systems administration, something I'd taught myself from scratch. No degree, no handouts, just grind. I was making 5 times more than I did at the call center, and doing 10 times less in terms of stress and bullshit. I knew exactly what I was doing when I bought property in the capital. I'd done the math, I'd studied the market. I didn't get lucky. I earned every inch of that upgrade. I'll never forget the way that city smelled in summer, like asphalt, street food, and freedom. The sunsets, the impromptu rap ciphers in the park, skaters rolling past DJs, spinning beats at the soulful cafes in sunsets, the basketball courts and sport life around. The open-air festivals that felt like they belonged to everyone. And to me, this was my real life. That city was the first place that ever felt like home. And in some ways, it still does. I even booked my first trip to the Caribbean to celebrate the purchase of my apartment. That trip changed me. I tasted the tropics, the freedom I always felt in music. And now it was real.
But how long will the holiday last?
At that moment, I was ready to say that I had everything I dreamed of. Things were going well. I even made extra payments on my mortgage and tried not to use credit cards. There were a number of goals that would have become achievable in the near future, if not for further events. Just months after I returned from that dream trip, war broke out. The very war I had escaped in one place came chasing after me in another. It felt like the past was hunting me, like the region I was born in had exploded and the blast wave came straight for the life I'd built. And the worst part? That region, the one I'd cut off like a rotting limb, was at the center of it all. Suddenly, everything I'd built was under threat again. Sanctions, fear, the economy imploding. I wasn't afraid of hardship. I was afraid of being dragged into a machine I always despised. But more than anything, conscription. When the war broke out, the company I worked for was hit hard. It was tied to now-sanctioned hardware and lost massive parts of both its supply chain and customer base. Practically collapsed overnight. I lost my job along with it. The moment whispers of mobilization began, I moved fast. I bought a last-minute trip and fled to a third country. Officially as a tourist, but I knew the deal. If it escalates, I'm not coming back. It didn't. Not yet. And I returned. For a while, things settled. I tried to keep living. Enjoy the last summer in the only city that ever felt like home. Founded new job. But then it hit. Mobilization. It wasn't just a war. It was a fucking ghost. The one I buried. And now it kicked my new front door in. How the fuck does a region you ran from end up destroying your new life too? Hard. No time to think. I packed my bags and ran. Again.
Don't wanna let you in. You drop your back to the floor. You're asking what's getting late now, hey now. Enough of the arguments. She sips the Coca-Cola. She can't tell the difference yet. That's what you're calling for. I don't wanna let you in. Drop you back to the floor. You're asking what's happening. It's getting late now, hey now. Enough of the arguments. She sips the Coca-Cola.